there were construction projects at several other locations as well. If this was wartime, it was a bad idea fighting on several battlefields at the same time, but with construction, it was a different story. Construction could be carried out with different phases of planning to maximize efficiency. Furthermore, this was a fantastic training opportunity for our field engineers, which was why we arranged field officers to lead each team and let them give orders at their discretion. To be more specific, there were 4 locations with construction occurring the outskirts of Dwargon, Ingracia, Eurazania and Sarion. The one near Dwargon had already been connected with the highway, with inns lining it. The goal of the current project was to widen the road and lay down tracks, specifically for the magitrain. We also hired adventurers as paid labor. Because of the job offer, it had quite the surge of popularity. The site was full of energy. On the Ingracia side, it was just like Dwargon's route. The difference was that the one in Ingracia was already broad enough, so we could start laying down rails directly. It wouldn't take too long before it was finished. The one leading to Eurazania was next. For now, we had everyone working on jobs such as widening the road while preserving the natural environment. The wood cut down from the process would be transported to the new but still under construction capital. That was why we had been making arrangements, so that the supplies could be shipped out at a faster pace. The road leading to Sarion, on the other hand, was not progressing so smoothly. We initially began with cutting down forests, but it was taking more time than expected. The main workforce there consisted of high orcs. They could use stomach to transport material. As they were the most skillful of workers, the task of widening the road should have posed no problems. However, they were also required to transport the wood they had cut down. This type of work required more manpower, which would only be sufficient by the time the operation in Eurazania was complete and the 2 construction crews rendezvoused. First, our workers needed to be able to traverse the forest. After which, we planned to gradually build and then pave the road. We would only start drilling the tunnels and laying down tracks after everything was complete. This was the current situation on our 4 main fronts. Some people were against the idea of running the magitrain to the armed nation of Dwargon. They claimed that predicting the movements of the Eastern Empire was impossible, and that there was a possibility of information leakage. Furthermore, they were afraid that the Eastern Empire would steal the magitrain and repurpose it for military invasion. In that way, the magitrain tracks we went through all the trouble of laying down could turn out to be a double-edged sword. Others were also worried that the route was going to be sabotaged. Some even suggested that we should build a fortress to face the Empire. The in-town near Meld River had a large residential area. They were arguing to settle at the location and turn the town to a strategic fortress city. I had considered the proposal, but ultimately decided against it. I thought it was meaningless. Right now, we still had no idea what the Eastern Empire would do. The thought of adding more to our growing pile of work definitely put me off. Even though we had more manpower these days, there were still a ton of things that needed to be done. However, this did not mean that we were being careless. It wasn't that we were sitting idly by with the assumption that the Eastern Empire wouldn't launch a preemptive strike, but rather that if the other side did seriously attack us, then we would simply do our best to crush our enemies. I did not want to continue dealing with them with a facade, and it was incredibly foolish maintaining a high level of vigilance all the time. It depended on how the Empire came at us, but we intended to meet their challenge with full strength and force a short yet decisive victory. Among our ranks, some of our lieutenants also agreed to this more direct approach. By the time the war began, the train tracks, among other things, that we spent so much time putting down would likely be destroyed. However, even if that turned out to be the case, we could always construct them again. We should not delay the progress of our development just because we were afraid of something that might happen in the future. The same goes for the Angels' invasion. No matter who our opponent was, we would not back down. We will roll with the punches when the time comes. We would simply have to rebuild what was ruined. While it was crucial to think about how to protect these things, people were more important, not objects. As long as we protected the craftsmen, then everything would turn out fine. With this resolve in mind, the construction and development of the projects were carried out at an incredible pace, thanks to sheer determination and planning. The last location I visited was the Kingdom of Farmenas. Following our agreement, Yaum found some workers to handle the preparation duties tied to the opening of the magitrain. We received reports that they had completed both selecting an initial route for laying track and the subsequent site surveys. This was progressing faster than I had anticipated too. I thought they would only handle the matter after the farming season, yet Yaum, or rather, Myuran seemed to prioritize the train tracks. It's only rational. If the agricultural products of our nation can be exported to other nations, then that means the foreign currencies earned will enrich our nation. I'm well aware of this. In addition, it'll make it easier for ration support to arrive should there ever be a famine. When this wonderful magitrain is complete, I will not allow our nation to be ill-prepared and lack the necessary infrastructure, Myuran declared with a smile, clearly more concerned than I was. Despite the fact that she was now the queen of the kingdom of Farmenas, she still very much cared about the nation's policies. Hahaha, I am honestly useless these days. Rommel was good at these things, so I sent him to supervise the field operation. With a wry smile, Yaum introduced me to a man named Rommel. I recalled seeing him before in the past. He was Yaum's mage companion during his time as an adventurer. Rommel nervously reported the current situation to me. Scrolling on a precision map that was the equivalent of national secret, he pointed out specific locations to pass the road and rails through. The map also clearly indicated the results of each detailed survey, just as I had instructed. We all agreed that I would finalize the measurement in the end, which was why I headed immediately to the construction site. I then used the rest of the day to double-check all the information. While there is still room for improvement, everything seems to be in order. Did you assign someone to keep records of each region? Yes, everything has been completed according to your arrangements. Then, please inform the person in charge that they need to resurvey this section here, and here again. It would be meaningless if I were the one finishing all the work since I had incredible precision. I hope to encourage the new talents by having them finish all the procedures by their own hand. Considering their present skill level, this minor investigation shouldn't take long. Here in the kingdom of Farmenas, the magical concentration was lower than that of the Great Jura Forest, but I still plan to deploy some generators here. That day, I received a grand welcoming ceremony by Yaum and the others. To be honest, I never expected you to come here by yourself. The young master is just as easygoing as usual. I'm really jealous. Yaum, who had been drinking quite a bit, expressed his envy of me. But he was mistaken. I was not by myself. I brought Ranga with me. Ranga is here too. Do you require my service, master? Responding to my words, Ranga extended his head from my shadow. Whoa. So you were there, gave me a good scare. Of course. Even though there shouldn't be anyone bold enough to challenge a demon lord, protecting my master is my duty as a subordinate. Please have this understanding when you act as the ruler of a nation. I'll pass. When Edgar can stand by himself, I'm getting rid of this boring king role. Edgar was the son of the former King Edmalus. He seemed to be a pretty clever lad, and his royal bloodline was irrefutable. Yaum thought his usurping the crown did not have a justified enough cause, and wanted to have a proper member of the royal family act as the heir to the throne. However, Edgar, the person in question. Your Majesty Yaum, please don't speak of nonsense like that. Now that Lady Mayu is pregnant with the heir to the crown, it's only natural for him to inherit the throne. My dream is to serve that person in the future, so please don't say something that could be taken for unnecessary dispute. He didn't seem to want to be king as he rejected Yaum's words. As opposed to that. Hold on a second. Didn't I just hear something important? I was in the middle of passing a drumstick over to Ranga when I froze, and instead asked Yaum what was on my mind. Lady Mayu is pregnant with the heir to the crown, doesn't that mean Myuran is pregnant? So a greater Majin could have a child with a human that easily. Could it be that your majesty has not told your benefactor, Rimuru-sama, about the heir? Well, it was too embarrassing to reveal. I felt it was a bit awkward to bring it up. Edgar appeared quite baffled as he inquired, whereas Yaum and Myuran answered almost simultaneously. You guys are seriously a match made in heaven. Speaking of which, I recalled that when monsters gave birth to children, they would be weakened. Would Myuran really be alright? It should be fine. I was originally human, so even though my strength will weaken some, it won't matter too much these days. With my knowledge of magic and skills, I shouldn't be inconvenienced too much. My concerns were quickly soothed. By the way, regarding Grucius, he seems to have been hit rather hard by this news. He hasn't been himself ever since. Yaum mentioned sadly. No wonder. I had been planning to ask why I hadn't seen Grucius since my arrival. It's alright, I'm sure he'll find his other half. But that was not something I would know. I couldn't get a girlfriend for the longest time myself, so this was a problem Grucius had to solve himself. I'm sorry to hear that. With Grucius in that state, are you sure the Night Order is fine? I questioned. Likely due to Diablo's interfering, the thriving insurgency had been pacified, so I figured there shouldn't be anything to worry about. However, it was still concerning to have the commander of the Night Order acting like this, which was why I was afraid there might be problems. It's alright, my companions were within the order too. More importantly, Uncle Raisin is amazing. Just like what a living legend is supposed to be, he's something else. Oh yeah. This nation still had Raisin. I heard that Diablo took him as his servant. He seemed to be working pretty hard for the kingdom of Farmenas. I mean, after all, Diablo made a pact with him using the unique skill Tempter, so we shouldn't have to worry about him betraying us. Speaking of this Raisin-sama, he's been energetically overseeing the domestic situation. He would regularly contact us with magic, and even assisted us in eliminating dangerous elements across the kingdom. Edgar revealed with shimmering eyes that only a young boy could have. Apparently, Raisin was very popular in this nation. I had received all sorts of reports about him, and thought that this Raisin was only involved with immoral and dirty business, but perhaps from the perspective of someone trying to protect his nation, he probably was a very outstanding person. I didn't intend to pick a problem with him and instead listened very carefully to what Edgar had to say. With a change of perspective, how you viewed certain things began to change as well. As the saying goes, history is written by the victors, and the losers lose everything. In the eyes of this nation's citizens, King Edmulus and Raisin were the righteous ones. Had we been defeated during our war with the Farmenas army, we would likely have been known in history as an evil and vicious band of monsters. I didn't intend to belittle my opponents with illegitimate means like that, but that was merely because there was no need to do so. With that in mind, Yam's rejuvenation of this nation was a huge success. He managed to retain the exceptional individuals from the old systems among his rank, and as a result, kept the public outcry to a minimum, and continued to rule the nation. In addition, they also managed to manipulate information such that harmful comments against our nation were kept from spreading, and instead, we were now considered a friendly country. At this rate, human prejudice towards monsters would likely soon fade away. Diablo sure was impressive. He was able to understand human nature well enough to bring me the outcome I wished. Everything was proceeding according to plan. Feeling satisfied, I chatted with Yam and the others for the rest of the day.